We should just go directly to Klaas, so that we take the debate after the three presentations.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Perhaps a short introduction of myself. That's the name of my company. It stands for the field. Chemometry, also known as chemometrics. It's a combination of chemistry and statistics, mathematics, computer science. And for me, it's very natural to think about a biological passport, because in my field, we are using this kind of methodology for at least 20 years in industry to monitor production processes. And so actually, for me, this is all stuff with all the advantages, all the drawbacks that we see, and already discussed during lunch. This afternoon we're going to discuss it, and so stamp of approval. I have an opinion about it. I will show a little bit of the drawbacks that have been neglected in the past. As I said, I have an opinion, but I will leave it open for you to see how to go on next with this biological passport. That's the first slide, what the goal of the presentation. Second, short explanation of the biological passport, how it works, 2 different stages. Then I will point out one of the main drawbacks that I see is systematic overestimation of abnormality, and that directly translates to an underestimation of false positives. There's also an arbitrary threshold for false positives that's typical for this particular kind of proof. And then I will quickly go into admissions of Floyd Landis. The passport can be evaded, of course, and some concluding remarks. And so the goal of the presentation is to move away a little bit from the official standard treatments. So the standard treatments, they only talk about a promising additional method next to all the conventional testing. Conventional testing is a direct method, and so you prove the actual presence of substance. And this is an indirect method. It proves something, but at the moment you're not actually sure what it proves. That's what one of the major points that one of the major objections of Martin. And so the 2 stages of the biological passport. First, there's a statistical assessment, a calculation to sift profiles. So imagine you have a database, hundreds or even thousands of blood profiles. How to manage those? That's statistics, the calculation to sift the profiles, and then comes stage 2, an expert panel review, to distinguish between chance and an external cause. That external cause can be doping, or it can be altitude, or whatever. And so I will primarily focus on stage 1, and Michael will say more about the panel review, how that works. This is a picture from a presentation of Anne Wipper. This is how your biological passport might look like. And so blue are data points. So the lines are just mental constructions. There's nothing there but to connect points. The red lines indicate the normal range. You start that the normal range is in fact a decision rule. And so as soon as a value moves out of the normal range, then you have an adverse result and the possibility to pass on this profile to the expert review. And so one of the points I would like to make is that there's a systematic overestimation of abnormality. This range is too narrow, which means that in this particular case, if you calculate it correctly, this would not be an adverse result. And so there's one of the improvements that you can think of is to account for multiple model reuse. And so you have this model, and you have the intention to reuse it over and over and over again. Well, these normal ranges are based on there's an implicit assumption because it's not realized, that you're going to use it only once. Okay? Well, then you can think of a lottery, for example, with one winning ticket only. Winning this lottery is indirect evidence of cheating. It's completely analogous to the biological passport. And since most honest players lose all the time, their whole life. And the probability of winning without cheating increases, of course, with the number of tickets that you have bought. Well, the same with the biological passport, and you have to account for that. And that means that the normal range gets broader. And you have to do that in advance. Well, the implication, of course, is that, well, this is an overly simplistic statistical calculation. The degree of abnormality is overrated, grossly overrated, which means if you have a fluctuation by chance and you enter the panel review stage, there's no way of defending yourself. Because how are you going to explain a chance fluctuation? And so your own expert stands against the wall. Well, not surprisingly, and so I published this together with a former colleague. This is not acceptable as a forensic method. I saw this coming in 2008. I notified the Dutch Anti-Doping Authority. Well, in an email, October 14, 2008, one of the scientific people of the Dutch Anti-Doping Authority said, well, I also saw that SOTA incorrectly defines the term false positive. Nothing happens. I would say that's crucial. Well, something else, an arbitrary threshold for false positives. In conventional testing, I believe, at least the doping authorities claim, that they do better or much better than 1 in 10,000. And just think, between 200,000 and 300,000 samples each year, if you would take the threshold that's currently in place for the biological passport, you would have between 200 and 300 complaining athletes each year, false positive. And so the threshold should be at least 10 times more strict. And then there's of course the possibility to evade the passport. Numbers do not tell what caused them. And so abnormal values, you need an expert to explain it. For normal values you have the same problem, of course. You can stay within the normal range by manipulating the blood values. Well, that's something that I also predicted in 2008. So from this interview with Pat McQuaid, he said, when he was asked, well, the Dutchman Faber, that's me, he thinks that the passport can be evaded. And I could have told him 20 years ago, because this is old methodology. Well, Pat McQuaid, he was very, very comfortable and said, well, I think not. We have 8 scientists that work on the passport. And he thinks, well, it will be robust when it comes to the trial. As some concluding remarks, both false positives as well as false negatives are underrated. So in the absence of other suitable evidence, what to do with it? Prosecute? Screening? No start rule? And so that's up to you.
Thank you, Klaas. Klaas, it was once again a thought-provoking presentation you gave there.